Welcome to Life Story 999. Today, we bring you a story that blends resilience, leadership, and redemption into an unforgettable journey. It's a tale about standing firm in the face of adversity, finding opportunity in conflict, and inspiring change when others least expect it. The spotlight today shines on Barron Trump. Picture this: a sunny afternoon in bustling Los Angeles, where the air hums with life and the sidewalks teem with energy. Amidst the vibrancy, Barron, poised and confident, yet quietly reflective, steps into a renowned high-end restaurant, LA Terrace. Known for its exclusivity and sophistication, this was the kind of place where celebrities and influencers mingled, creating an atmosphere rich with intrigue. But little did anyone know, this afternoon would become a defining moment not just for Barron, but for the restaurant, its patrons, and a broader audience online and beyond. Sporting his signature bright red MAGA hat, Barron wasn't there to make a statement. For him, the hat was a simple expression of individuality, a symbol of comfort rather than controversy. Yet, the very sight of it stirred a storm of judgment among diners and staff. And soon, a tense confrontation brewed as the restaurant manager decided to take a stand, not against Barron as a person, but against what the hat represented to him. In a moment charged with intensity, Barron was asked to either remove his hat or leave the establishment entirely. Calm but resolute, Barron chose the latter, exiting the restaurant with his dignity intact, but carrying a newfound sense of disappointment. What happens next, however, transforms this moment of exclusion into an extraordinary story of unity and understanding. Instead of reacting with anger or frustration, Barron channels the experience into something constructive. With a clarity of purpose far beyond his years, he launches a movement that challenges divisiveness and champions dialogue. His response not only surprises the restaurant manager, but also inspires an entire community to reconsider what it means to stand together despite differences. This is not just a story about a hat or a restaurant policy. It's a story about humanity's capacity for growth, understanding, and connection. It's a reminder that even in moments of tension, we have the power to create something beautiful, to turn division into unity and misunderstanding into progress. Barron's journey in this tale is a testament to leadership through grace and purpose, proving that even the smallest gestures can ripple outwards and spark meaningful change. So, stay with us as we unravel the rest of this remarkable narrative. Witness how Barron's quiet strength and determination transform a moment of conflict into a beacon of hope for those around him. And, as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Life Story 999 for more inspiring stories that remind us of the good we're all capable of. Let's dive in together and see how this incredible journey unfolds. On a bright and breezy afternoon in Los Angeles, the kind of day that invites both relaxation and introspection, Barron Trump decided to break from his usual routine. Now in his late teens, Barron had grown into a confident young man, known for his calm demeanor and thoughtful approach to life. That day, he chose to dine at LA Terrace, a high-end restaurant celebrated for its exclusivity, sophistication, and clientele of celebrities, executives, and influencers. It was the sort of place where appearances mattered, and every guest added a layer of intrigue to the ambience. Dressed in casual but polished attire, Barron made his way through the glass doors of LA Terrace, drawing a few curious glances. It wasn't just his tall frame or the way he carried himself that caught attention, but the bright red MAGA hat perched on his head. To Barron, the hat wasn't meant to provoke. It was a simple expression of his beliefs, a personal statement he wore with quiet confidence. He had visited this restaurant before and always appreciated its serene atmosphere and excellent service. He had no reason to suspect that today would be any different. As Barron was seated by a polished and professional hostess near a quiet corner of the restaurant, he opened the menu and scanned for his favorite dish. The soft hum of muted conversations filled the air as patrons sipped fine wine and enjoyed carefully crafted meals. For a brief moment, the restaurant's tranquil charm enveloped him. But soon, he noticed a change in atmosphere. A man at a nearby table nudged his companion, their whispers barely concealed. Two servers near the bar exchanged glances, their conversation halting mid-sentence. The tension in the room was subtle at first, like a faint ripple in still water. Barron, focused on his menu, remained oblivious to the unease his presence seemed to spark. It wasn't long before the restaurant manager emerged, a man in his mid-40s with a sharp suit and an even sharper air of authority. He walked briskly toward Barron's table, his expression one of determination. As he approached, the room seemed to hold its breath. Even those trying not to stare couldn't resist sneaking glances, sensing that something significant was about to unfold. "Excuse me," the manager began, his voice carrying just enough volume to draw attention. "We have a policy against political apparel in this establishment. I'm going to have to ask you to remove the hat." Barron looked up, surprised but composed. He removed his earbuds, placing them neatly on the table beside him. "I wasn't aware of any such policy," he said evenly, his tone respectful yet firm. The manager gestured vaguely toward the entrance. "It's part of our code of conduct. We aim to maintain a neutral space for all our guests." Barron paused, his thoughtful gaze meeting the manager's unwavering stance. The quiet murmur of the restaurant faded into an almost palpable silence as diners leaned in, their curiosity piqued. Barron's expression remained calm as he weighed his options. "I'm not here to cause trouble," he said, his voice measured and steady. "I'm just here for lunch." The manager's posture stiffened. "I understand," he replied, his tone firm but not unkind. "However, I must insist. Either the hat comes off, or I'll have to ask you to leave." For a moment, Barron remained seated, his face unreadable. Then, with a slight nod, he began to gather his belongings. He pushed his chair back and stood, his movements deliberate and unhurried. "If that's how you feel," he said evenly, "I'll leave." The room was silent as Barron walked toward the door, his untouched glass of water left behind. He didn't glance back, didn't falter in his stride. The glass doors closed softly behind him, leaving the restaurant in a state of awkward hush. Conversations that had been so lively moments ago now seemed muted, the tension thick enough to linger like an uninvited guest. Outside, the warm California breeze brushed against Barron's face. He paused on the sidewalk, adjusting his hat slightly, as if reaffirming his decision to wear it. Taking a deep breath, he allowed himself a moment of reflection. He wasn't angry, frustrated, perhaps, but more than anything, he felt disappointed. Disappointed that a place he had enjoyed for its welcoming atmosphere had turned its back on him over something as simple as a hat. He had been raised to treat others with kindness, even in the face of disagreement, and this incident felt like a betrayal of that principle. Back inside the restaurant, the staff exchanged uneasy glances. One of the waiters leaned toward the manager. "Do you think that was a good idea?" he asked in a low voice. The manager waved him off, his confidence beginning to waver. "We can't make exceptions," he muttered. "If we let him stay, it sends a wrong message. This is my restaurant, and I'll run it as I see fit." Meanwhile, Barron walked a few blocks to a small public park. Finding an empty bench, he sat down and pulled out his phone. He typed a quick message to his mother, letting her know what had happened, followed by text to a few close friends. He wasn't seeking sympathy, only clarity. Was he overreacting? Was the manager's decision justified? The responses came quickly, ranging from outrage to support. "That's insane," one friend wrote. "They had no right to treat you like that." Another added, "You handled it better than I would have." As Barron scrolled through the messages, an idea began to form. He wasn't interested in revenge or public drama. Instead, he saw an opportunity, a chance to take this experience and turn it into something constructive. He began making calls, his voice calm but resolute. "I need your help with something," he said, the spark of determination clear in his tone. This was only the beginning. Barron walked briskly to a nearby park, his thoughts swirling in a whirlwind of reflection and emotion. The sunny California day provided little solace as the sting of the incident lingered in his mind. Finding a secluded bench beneath the shade of a towering oak tree, he sat down and pulled out his phone. The scene at L.A. Terrace replayed vividly in his memory. The whispers, the stares, and the manager's stern demand. Despite his calm demeanor during the confrontation, the weight of the experience began to press heavily on him now. Taking a deep breath, Barron opened his messaging app and began typing. First, he sent a quick text to his mother, relaying the events that had unfolded. Then he reached out to a few close friends. His messages weren't dramatic or seeking sympathy. They were thoughtful and introspective. Am I overreacting? He asked. Was it right for them to ask me to leave over a hat? The replies came swiftly. That's absurd, one friend responded. They had no right to do that. Another added, you handled it better than most would have. I'd have caused a scene. The support was reassuring, but it wasn't enough to quell Barron's deeper thoughts. He wasn't angry. Frustration lingered, yes, but more than anything, he felt disappointed. Disappointed in the judgment he'd faced and the lack of understanding that had been extended to him. Leaning back against the bench, Barron allowed the warm breeze to ruffle his hair as he stared out at the park's expanse. Children's laughter echoed from a nearby playground, and joggers passed by, oblivious to the inner turmoil of the young man sitting quietly among them. It was in this tranquil moment that clarity began to emerge. Barron wasn't the type to wallow in self-pity or dwell on negativity. He'd been raised to believe that challenges were opportunities in disguise, that conflict could pave the way for meaningful change if approached with the right mindset. This isn't about me, he thought. It's bigger than that. The realization sparked a flicker of determination within him. The incident at L.A. Terrace wasn't just a personal affront. It was a reflection of broader societal divisions that needed addressing. Barron knew he couldn't change the world overnight, but perhaps he could take a small step toward fostering understanding. Reinvigorated, Barron began drafting ideas in the Notes app on his phone. He envisioned a response that would rise above anger and retaliation, a response that would inspire dialogue rather than deepen divides. One phrase kept circling in his mind, building bridges, not walls. He decided then and there that he would organize an event, something public and impactful, that would bring people together to discuss and celebrate unity. The concept evolved rapidly in his mind. A fundraiser, he decided, would be the perfect way to turn negativity into something positive. It could support causes that promoted inclusivity, dialogue, and understanding. And what better location for such an event than right outside the very restaurant where the incident had occurred? It would be a symbolic gesture, not to shame the restaurant, but to demonstrate the power of grace and perseverance in the face of adversity. Pulling out his contact list, Barron made his first call. Hey, I need your help with something, he began, his voice calm but resolute. Over the next hour, he reached out to friends, family, and mentors, outlining his vision and rallying their support. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Count me in, one friend said enthusiastically. This is exactly the kind of thing people need right now. As plans for the fundraiser began to take shape, Barron's determination grew stronger. He sketched out a rough blueprint for the event in a notebook he carried with him. Live music, food trucks, booths for local charities, and a central stage where speakers could share messages of hope and unity. He even jotted down potential slogans for the event. United we stand, and conversations over conflict topped the list. Meanwhile, back at L.A. Terrace, the fallout from the earlier confrontation was beginning to ripple through the restaurant staff. Whispers among the waiters and bartenders hinted at unease over the manager's decision. Do you think it was the right call? One server asked another. I mean, he wasn't causing any trouble. I don't know, the other replied, shaking their head. But it's all over social media now. People are already talking about it. Indeed, posts about the incident had started circulating online, sparking debates in the comment sections. Some defended the restaurant's policy, while others criticized the decision as an overreach. One tweet in particular gained traction. Imagine kicking someone out over a hat and calling it neutrality. Hashtag let people be. Barron noticed the growing online chatter, but chose not to engage. His focus remained on the fundraiser, not on fueling the fire. This isn't about division, he reminded himself. It's about bringing people together. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, Barron's plan was well underway. He had secured commitments from several key people, including a local nonprofit willing to co-sponsor the event. His vision was no longer just an idea. It was becoming a reality. For the first time since leaving the restaurant, a genuine smile crossed his face. He felt a sense of purpose that transcended the sting of rejection. This incident would not define him, but his response to it certainly could. With renewed energy, Barron rose from the park bench, his mind set on the road ahead. He wasn't just planning an event. He was planting the seeds of change one step at a time. Back at home, Barron sat at his desk, the weight of the earlier incident still fresh in his mind. But rather than dwell on the confrontation, he felt a surge of purpose. The manager's decision at LA Terrace had left him with a choice: to react with bitterness or to create something meaningful. Barron chose the latter. Opening his notebook, he began outlining a plan that would take the negative energy from the experience and transform it into an opportunity for unity and understanding. The idea came to him quickly: a public fundraiser. Not just any fundraiser, but one that emphasized dialogue, inclusion, and mutual respect. The location? Right outside LA Terrace. Barron felt the symbolic power of hosting the event there, not as a form of retaliation, but as a gesture of reconciliation and hope. The event would showcase the possibility of turning division into connection, a living example of building bridges rather than walls. Grabbing his phone, Barron started making calls. His voice was calm yet filled with determination as he reached out to friends, family, and contacts who might support his vision. "Hey, I'm organizing an event," he began with each conversation. "It's about fostering understanding and unity, and I could really use your help." The responses were overwhelmingly positive. "I'm in," one friend said enthusiastically. "This is exactly what we need right now." Within hours, the framework for the event began to take shape. Barron envisioned a vibrant gathering with live music, food trucks, and booths set up by local charities that focus on community building and dialogue. At the center of it all would be a stage for speakers to share messages of hope and inclusion. The slogan came naturally: "United we stand," building bridges, not walls. As Barron worked late into the night, sketching out logistics and making lists of potential collaborators, the buzz from earlier in the day continued to grow online. Posts about the incident at LA Terrace had gone viral, sparking heated debates. Some defended the restaurant's policy, citing the importance of neutrality in public spaces. Others criticized the decision, calling it an overreach and a suppression of individual expression. "Imagine kicking someone out over a hat," one tweet read, "and then calling it neutrality. Hashtag let people be." Meanwhile, at the restaurant, the manager was beginning to feel the fallout of his actions. Reservations were being canceled, and the staff's usual chatter had turned into whispered speculations. "Do you think it was the right call?" one server asked another as they cleaned up for the night. "I mean, he wasn't causing any trouble." The manager, scrolling through the growing wave of online comments, felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He'd stood by his policy earlier with conviction, but now doubt was creeping in. Was his decision really about maintaining neutrality, or had it been driven by something else? Something less defensible? Unaware of the turmoil brewing at LA Terrace, Barron pressed on with his plans. By the next morning, he had secured commitments from several key organizations eager to support the fundraiser. A local nonprofit specializing in youth mentorship agreed to co-sponsor the event, and a popular jazz band offered to perform. Volunteers began reaching out, offering their time and resources to help bring the vision to life. The momentum was undeniable. On the day of the fundraiser, the transformation outside LA Terrace was remarkable. The once quiet block had become a lively hub of activity. Trucks unloaded equipment. Volunteers set up tables and colorful banners fluttered in the breeze. The main banner above the stage read in bold letters, "United we stand, building bridges, not walls." Barron arrived early, dressed simply but with a calm confidence that belied his young age. He moved through the setup, shaking hands and offering words of encouragement to the volunteers. By midday, the event was in full swing. Families, young professionals, activists, and even a few familiar faces from social media gathered to show their support. The air was filled with the sound of live music, the laughter of children at a face-painting booth, and the hum of meaningful conversations taking place at every corner. Taking the stage, Barron addressed the crowd with a steady voice. "Yesterday, I was asked to leave a restaurant because of a hat," he began. "And that's okay. I respect their policies, even if I don't agree with them. But what struck me wasn't just being turned away. It was the bigger picture. We've become so quick to judge, so quick to divide. That's not who we are. We can do better." The crowd erupted into applause, and Barron continued, "This event isn't about me, and it's not about them. It's about all of us. It's about finding ways to listen, to understand, and to come together. The funds we raise today will support programs that foster dialogue and inclusion, helping to bridge the gaps that divide us. Thank you for being here and proving that unity is stronger than division." The applause was thunderous as Barron stepped off the stage, greeting attendees personally and listening to their stories. The energy of the event was infectious, leaving many inspired and hopeful. Inside LA Terrace, the manager watched the event unfold through the restaurant's large windows. He hadn't expected Barron to respond in such a constructive and positive way, and it left him conflicted. Some of his staff had stepped outside to join the fundraiser, unable to resist the pull of the lively music and sense of camaraderie. One waiter returned and said quietly, "You should go out there. Talk to him." The manager hesitated, adjusting his tie nervously. Finally, he stepped outside, weaving through the crowd until he found Barron. Extending his hand, he said, "I need to apologize. I didn't handle things well yesterday." Barron shook his hand, offering a polite smile. "It takes courage to admit that," he replied. "Thank you." The two spoke briefly but meaningfully, and by the end of their conversation, the manager offered to host future events like the fundraiser at LA Terrace. It was a small but significant step toward healing. As the sun began to set, Barron stood back and surveyed the scene. What had started as a moment of exclusion had blossomed into a celebration of unity. He knew this was just the beginning of the change he hoped to inspire. The next morning, the block outside LA Terrace was unrecognizable. What was once a quiet, upscale street had transformed into a vibrant hub of community activity. Trucks arrived early, unloading tables, chairs, and colorful banners. Volunteers, brimming with energy, arranged everything with precision. Food trucks lined the sidewalk, offering enticing aromas of gourmet dishes and comforting snacks. At the center of it all, a large stage had been erected, its backdrop proudly displaying the event's slogan, "United we stand, building bridges, not walls." Barron Trump stood quietly near the stage, taking it all in. Despite his young age, his presence exuded a sense of calm confidence. Wearing a simple shirt and jeans, he greeted the volunteers and thanked them personally. His calm demeanor inspired those around him, energizing everyone involved in making the event a reality. By late morning, the block was alive with activity. Families strolled through the booths, children's laughter echoed from a face-painting station, and the soulful tunes of a local jazz band filled the air. The atmosphere was electric, charged with positivity and a shared sense of purpose. It was hard to imagine that just a day earlier, this location had been the site of a contentious confrontation. Barron stepped on the stage as the crowd gathered. Hundreds of people stood before him, a mix of young and old, locals and visitors, supporters and skeptics. He held the microphone with steady hands and began his speech. "Yesterday, I was asked to leave this restaurant because of a hat," he said, his voice clear and unwavering. "And that's okay. I respect their policies, even if I don't agree with them. But what struck me wasn't just being turned away. It was the bigger picture. We've become so quick to judge, so quick to divide. That's not who we are. We can do better. The crowd responded with applause, their faces lit with understanding and admiration. Barron continued, "This event isn't about me, and it's not about them. It's about all of us. It's about finding ways to listen, to understand, and to come together. The funds we raise today will support programs that foster dialogue and inclusion, helping to bridge the gaps that divide us. Thank you for being here and proving that unity is stronger than division." The applause grew louder, rippling through the crowd like a wave. Barron's words had struck a chord, resonating deeply with those in attendance. As he stepped off the stage, attendees approached him with words of encouragement and gratitude. Some shared their own stories of overcoming division and finding common ground. Barron listened intently, his genuine interest evident in the way he engaged with each person. Meanwhile, inside LA Terrace, the manager watched the event unfold from behind the glass windows. The restaurant, which had been bustling with customers just days ago, was now eerily quiet. The table sat empty, and the staff moved about with an air of unease. The manager couldn't help but feel conflicted. He had thought enforcing the policy was the right decision at the time, but now he wasn't so sure. Watching the crowd outside, he saw something he hadn't anticipated. Unity, positivity, and a sense of purpose that transcended the incident. One of the servers approached him hesitantly. "You should go out there," she said softly. "Talk to him." The manager hesitated, adjusting his tie nervously. Finally, he nodded and made his way to the door. Stepping outside, he was greeted by the lively sounds of the fundraiser. He weaved through the crowd, searching for Barron. When he finally found him, Barron was speaking with a group of attendees, his calm demeanor unchanged. "Mr. Trump," the manager began, extending his hand. "I need to apologize. I didn't handle things well yesterday." Barron turned to him, surprised but composed. He shook the manager's hand and offered a small smile. "It takes courage to admit that," he said. "Thank you." The two men stepped aside to speak privately. The manager admitted that he had acted out of fear and judgment rather than fairness. Barron listened, nodding occasionally but never interrupting. When the manager finished, Barron replied, "What's important is that we learn from these moments. Yesterday could have been just another instance of division, but today we've shown what's possible when we choose to come together." The manager, moved by Barron's grace and maturity, offered to support future events like the fundraiser. "If there's anything LA Terrace can do to contribute, we'd be honored," he said sincerely. By afternoon, the fundraiser had reached its peak. The crowd continued to grow, and donations poured in for the featured charities. Local media arrived to cover the event, capturing footage of the vibrant scene and interviewing attendees who spoke passionately about the importance of unity and dialogue. Social media buzzed with hashtags like #BuildingBridges and #UnitedWeStand, spreading the event's message far beyond the block where it was held. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the event, Barron took the stage one final time. He thanked everyone who had contributed to making the day a success: the volunteers, the donors, the performers, and most importantly, the attendees. "Today, we've shown that even in moments of conflict, we can choose connection over division," he said. "This is just the beginning. Together, we can build a future where understanding and unity are stronger than fear and judgment." The crowd erupted in applause, their cheers echoing down the street. Barron stepped off the stage, feeling a profound sense of accomplishment. What had started as a moment of exclusion had transformed into a powerful movement of inclusion and hope. As the event wound down, attendees lingered, reluctant to leave the positive energy behind. Barron stood with his friends and family, watching as the last of the equipment was packed away. He knew the impact of the fundraiser would ripple far beyond that day. It was more than just an event. It was a statement of vision for a better future. Inside LA Terrace, the manager returned to his office, reflecting on everything he had witnessed. The fundraiser had opened his eyes to the possibility of change, not just for the community, but for himself as well. He resolved to lead his restaurant with a renewed commitment to inclusivity and understanding. That night, as Barron returned home, he felt a deep sense of gratitude. The journey from confrontation to connection had not been easy, but it had been worth it. He knew this was just one step in a much larger journey, but it was a step in the right direction. And for Barron, that made all the difference. Inside the quiet and dimly lit LA terrace, the manager sat at his desk, his mind consumed by the vibrant fundraiser happening just outside. He had been following the event's progression through the large windows of his restaurant, watching as attendees laughed, clapped, and connected. A deep pit of uncertainty had settled in his stomach. He'd thought his decision to ask Barron Trump to leave was justified, rooted in maintaining neutrality. But now, seeing the positive energy of the event and the unity it was fostering, he couldn't shake the feeling that he'd been wrong. Whispers among the staff had grown louder throughout the day. One server hesitantly approached him, her voice soft but insistent. "You should go out there," she said, her eyes darting nervously between him and the window. "Talk to him. He's not who you think he is." The manager hesitated, fiddling with the cuff of his shirt. He wasn't sure what he would say if he did go out there. How could he confront the young man he had so publicly dismissed? But as he glanced outside and saw Barron standing amidst a crowd, shaking hands and speaking with attendees, he knew he couldn't hide in his office any longer. Gathering his courage, he straightened his tie, took a deep breath, and stepped outside. The transition from the quiet interior of LA Terrace to the bustling energy of the fundraiser was startling. The smell of food wafted from the food trucks, live music played from the stage, and groups of people mingled in animated conversation. The atmosphere was electric, filled with a sense of purpose and hope. The manager wove through the crowd, his heart pounding with every step. Finally, he found Barron speaking to a small group of attendees. Barron's demeanor was calm and approachable, a stark contrast to the tension the manager had felt in his own actions the day before. Clearing his throat, the manager stepped forward and extended his hand. "Mr. Trump," he began, his voice slightly shaky, "I need to apologize. I didn't handle things well yesterday. I acted out of fear and judgment, and it wasn't fair." Barron turned, his expression one of polite surprise. He shook the manager's hand, his grip firm but kind. "It takes courage to admit that," Barron said, his voice steady. "Thank you." The two stepped aside, finding a quieter corner near the edge of the event. The manager's words came in a rush, as if releasing a burden he had been carrying. He admitted that his decision had been impulsive and driven more by personal biases than any restaurant policy. "I thought I was protecting our space," he confessed, "but now I see I was just creating division." Barron listened intently, nodding as the manager spoke. When the manager finished, Barron took a moment before responding. "What's important is that you're willing to reflect and grow," he said. "We all make mistakes. What matters is how we choose to move forward from them." The sincerity in Barron's voice moved the manager. Inspired by the grace and maturity of someone so young, he offered a suggestion. "If there's anything LA Terrace can do to support this cause, please let me know," he said. "We'd be honored to help in any way we can." Barron smiled. "I have an idea," he said. "How about hosting future events like this one? We could use this space to bring people together, to foster understanding and dialogue." The manager blinked, clearly caught off guard. But as he considered the suggestion, a small smile formed on his lips. "I think that's a wonderful idea," he said. "Let's make it happen." The two men shook hands again, this time with genuine warmth. Around them, the crowd seemed to sense the resolution and began to applaud. It was a spontaneous and heartfelt reaction, a testament to the significance of the moment. The manager returned to the restaurant with a lighter heart, already envisioning the possibilities for the future. The fundraiser continued to flourish as the afternoon turned into evening. The crowd grew even larger, and the donations poured in steadily. Local media captured the event, interviewing attendees who spoke passionately about the importance of unity and dialogue. Social media platforms buzzed with posts, photos, and hashtags like hashtag building bridges and hashtag United We Stand, spreading the message far beyond the block where the event was held. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm golden glow over the scene, Barron took the stage one final time. The crowd quieted, their attention fixed on the young man who had brought them all together. Holding the microphone with steady hands, Barron spoke from the heart. Today has been about more than just raising funds, he began. It's been about proving that even in moments of conflict, we can choose connection over division. It's been about showing that unity isn't just possible, it's necessary. Together, we can build a future where understanding and empathy are stronger than fear and judgment. The crowd erupted into applause, their cheers filling the air with hope and energy. Barron's speech marked the perfect conclusion to a day that had started with tension but ended with harmony. As he stepped off the stage, attendees approached him, expressing their gratitude and sharing their stories. Barron took the time to listen to each one, his genuine interest leaving a lasting impression on everyone he met. Inside LA Terrace, the manager watched the final moments of the fundraiser from his office window. For the first time in a long while, he felt a sense of clarity. The event had opened his eyes to the power of grace, understanding, and second chances. He resolved to lead his restaurant with a renewed commitment to inclusivity and to support causes that align with the values of unity and empathy. As the event wound down and the crowd began to disperse, Barron stood with his friends and family, reflecting on the day. What had started as a moment of exclusion had transformed into a powerful demonstration of inclusion and hope. He knew the impact of the fundraiser would ripple far beyond that day, inspiring change in ways he might never fully see. But for Barron, knowing that he had made a difference was enough. That night, as he returned home, Barron felt a deep sense of gratitude. The journey from confrontation to connection had not been easy, but it had been worth it. He understood that this was just one step in a much larger journey, but it was a step in the right direction. And for Barron, that made all the difference. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the bustling streets, the fundraiser outside LA Terrace came to a close. The vibrant energy of the day lingered in the air, leaving everyone with a profound sense of hope and possibility. Barron Trump, standing amidst a sea of smiling faces, addressed the crowd one final time. Today has been about more than just raising money, he began, his voice steady and filled with emotion. It's been about proving that even in moments of conflict, we have the power to choose connection over division. We all make mistakes, but what matters is how we choose to learn and grow from them. Today is proof that even in disagreement, we can find common ground. The crowd erupted into applause, their cheers carrying the message far and wide. Barron stepped off the stage, making his way through the gathering. People stopped him to shake his hand, share their gratitude, and tell their own stories of overcoming challenges and fostering understanding. His genuine interest in each person's words left an indelible mark, a testament to his sincerity and leadership. Inside the restaurant, the manager sat at his desk, reflecting on the day. The earlier confrontation with Barron had weighed heavily on him, but witnessing the event's success and its message of unity had shifted something within him. The conversations he'd had, the energy he'd felt, and the grace with which Barron had handled the situation had opened his eyes. It was a moment of growth and realization that would shape not only how he ran his restaurant, but how he approached life. We can do better, he thought to himself, the words echoing Barron's earlier speech. Inspired, he resolved to lead with empathy and to create a space that fostered inclusivity and understanding. He even began to imagine hosting similar events at LA Terrace, using the restaurant as a platform for bringing people together rather than dividing them. As the event wound down, Barron stood with his friends and family, watching the last of the attendees leave. The fundraiser had surpassed all expectations, raising significant funds for community programs that promoted dialogue and inclusivity. More importantly, it had sparked conversations and planted seeds of change that would grow far beyond the streets of Los Angeles. The night's silence was a stark contrast to the earlier activity, but it was a comforting silence, filled with the promise of progress. Barron felt a deep sense of gratitude for the people who had come together, for the lessons learned, and for the opportunity to turn a moment of exclusion into a movement of inclusion. He turned to his friends, a faint smile on his face. "This is just a beginning," he said. "If we can do this here, we can do it anywhere. One step at a time, we'll make a difference." The story of the day leaves us with a powerful message. Challenges and conflicts don't have to end in division. With understanding, grace, and proactive solutions, we can transform moments of tension into opportunities for connection and change. Barron's journey serves as a reminder that even in the face of adversity, we hold the power to build bridges, not walls. Thank you for joining Life Story 999 on this remarkable journey. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories of hope, growth, and unity. Together, let's continue to build a better world, one story at a time.